Okay, folks, let's get started. It's a couple minutes after 7, and I know everybody wants to get on their way. So let's get this thing going here. I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. My name is Jim Kukral. I'm your new Ward 3 council person. This is my first time in office. I've never ran for a position before, and this is my first big issue I get to cover. So I'm here today to make sure that you guys get all your questions answered, and we'll get through this whole thing real quickly. First, I want to introduce some of the people that are up here, and let's start with Council President Matt Trafis.
Thanks, Jim. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for attending this meeting tonight. Before we get started, I want to give you a very quick background on how we got to where we are right now. As you probably know, this has been a project that's been in the works for some time, and many people are probably aware that we were, yeah, about that long. Many people are probably aware that we were hoping to start the construction phase this summer, and it has been delayed. And one of the problems was that there were some deadlines that our current engineering firm, OHM, did not meet. A lot of it had to do with a grant for $2.4 million that ultimately reduces your cost. Since that time, Stuart Levis, who is our service director and used to be our city engineer at one point, got involved. He basically saved that grant for everybody in this room, thank God. In the meantime, we have removed OHM as our city engineers, effective June 1st. Beginning on May 1st, we are bringing a new firm on, Bowen and Associates. They are in the back of the room. If you want to stand up and wave real quick, guys. You'll probably be seeing a lot of them in the future. So welcome to Seven Hills, guys. Hi, Pete. Again, thank you for being here. This is going to be a long process. We beg your patience. We're doing our best to make this as open and transparent as possible. If you have any questions, Jim will be your main line of contact. And in this meeting today, we'll be doing a lot of Q&A with CT consultants who are here, which Jim will introduce shortly. Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Matt. Real quick, this is our service director, Stuart Levis. He is by far probably the best expert we have in the city regarding these matters. So he will be helping me and helping you over the next couple of years. Thank you, Stuart. And by the way, Stuart was very monumental in that grant. So Stuart's saving you guys a lot of money. So thanks, Stuart. And then, of course, we have, yeah, he deserves a round of applause for that. Over here, we have Bob McNutt and his associate from CT Consultants, and they were the ones who were contracted to put the plans together. Now, they do have a copy of all of the home plans over here. They're not completely finished, as I understand, right, Bob? We're still getting there. But if you would like to speak to them after, come up and take a look at your home. If there's probably going to be a huge line, I'm sure they will take the time to help you out. But let's get started. As Matt mentioned, the reason you're here is because we want to do things differently. You know, we really want to make sure that we have an open and transparent process for you guys moving forward over the next couple of years. We want full resident discussion and input regarding this project. And we want to make sure that there's no surprises. I don't know about how many of you guys have been with projects like this before, whether it's a home project or a business. What's the worst possible thing that could happen is that there's some kind of surprise, right? Gotcha, wow, you owe this much, or this is gonna happen. I don't want that to happen because I've been living in this town for 20 years and I would not want it to happen to me. So I'm gonna make sure that that doesn't happen to you. And we're really hoping for a very smooth project. And frankly, you deserve to be informed and you deserve to be heard about this project. So that's why we're doing this meeting. And I look forward to communicating with you guys throughout the project over the next couple of years. As Matt mentioned, I will be your main point of contact. So what is the Hemlock Creek project? Let's go through this pretty quickly. There are 305 homes in the city, all in Ward 3, my ward, that still have septic tanks. That's you. These are the last 305 homes in the entire city of Seven Hills that have septic tanks. The EPA has mandated that your septic tank must be removed and put into, tie into sewer lines. So the questions we're gonna answer today are, when does this start? And how much is this gonna cost you? And how will this affect your roads? And when will this be over? And who's gonna help me all through this? Now we're gonna go through this presentation. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the overall 40,000 foot view of the project. Then if you have any specific questions, I'd like you to just come up to the microphone here. We can get those questions answered. Stuart's here. Matt can answer political questions and things like that. And Stuart can handle technical stuff going on with the sewers. And of course, our planners for the sewers can also answer questions for you as well. So let's get right into it. This is not a representative perfect map, but this kind of just shows you what streets are affected. It's basically this kind of block right in the middle of our ward. It starts at Hillside and it goes all the way to Twilight. As you can see, it's like parts of Twilight, parts of everything. So this is kind of where it's happening. These are the last 305 homes that need to be put together, and you're part of that. So let's real quickly talk about the process of how this works. If you're unfamiliar with the process of septic tanks, this is how septic tanks work. You have a septic tank, usually in the front of your home, under the driveway or under the front lawn, and everything goes into the septic tank, okay? Now the EPA says you can't have that anymore. So what they are saying is we have to create a project where we put sewer lines in on the street. As you can see, they'll be installed right on the street. And then after the sewer lines are in, you'll be required to have your septic tank crushed, and you will be required to contract somebody to tie into the sewer lines, okay? So that's how this project is working. So phase one of this project is what you're looking at right here, which is the city contracts company, does all the plans to create a phase one of the project. So let's talk about that. So as I mentioned, this is a two-phase project. The city contracts to have the sewer lines put in, like on the diagram I showed. And then phase two of the project is when the sewer lines are all done, you have to find a contractor to take your septic tank, crush it, and tie into the sewer lines, okay? So there are two phases to this project. Here's the schedule as we have it right now. The plans are being finalized by CT Consultants as we speak, okay? They have some stuff here, but we do not have a final plan. I've been told that it will be any day now before that plan is available. The part of that process that is happening right now is the easement collection. So the law director handles this. He couldn't be here this evening. If you have been contacted by the law director in terms of an easement, it's in all of your benefit to make sure that the easements get signed in a timely manner. And here's why. If we cannot get all of the easements signed by a certain date, I think, I don't remember, was it June 1st or whatever the date was, it's soon, then we risk the opportunity of not being able to get that $2.4 million grant, which would reduce approximately your fee about 25%. So when you get a call from a service or from the law director saying, okay, I'm bad at math, but it's a significant piece of income that you won't have to pay. Easements are very important. So if you have not been contacted, I met a gentleman in the back who had not really been able to get a hold of the law director, or they hadn't contacted him or whatever. We're going to take care of that because it's really important that this gets done. So if you hear from the law director, please, please, please work to get your easements put together. The next step in this process is the assessment process. This is going to start late spring and take several months. And the assessment process is essentially figuring out, how much you're going to have to pay, and it's really pretty much all to it, right? It's pretty much, that's what we got to do. And that's the $1 million question tonight, isn't it? How much is this going to cost me? So let's just get right to that. But before we do that, after the assessment, after you find out how much you're going to have to pay, we're going to go to a bidding process, which means the city will go out and post public bids to find a contractor who will do the work for the city. Okay, we have a very specific way that we have to do that, a legal way we have to post those bids. We expect that to happen late this fall and in winter of 2017. Then spring 2017, the big day, construction should begin, which means that there are shovels in the ground and crews on your street potentially, and digging up the road and putting the sewer lines in. This project is estimated to take 1.5 years just for phase 1, and it will start next spring. So the estimated finish date of just phase 1 will be fall 2018. Then phase 2, where we talked about having your septic tank crushed, will approximately begin in 2019, okay? So let's talk about some specifics. This is a almost $10 million project in entirety. We got $2.4 million in grant money from the Ohio Public Works Commission. That was the grant that I talked about that Stuart was so helpful in getting. We're getting approximately $1 million from the Cleveland Water Department to cover the cost of the new water mains. So let's do the math. $10 million project minus 2.4 million minus another million. What you have left, you take that and you amortize that across 305 homes. And that is essentially what your cost per home is probably going to be. This is not an official number. This number could be lower. It could be right there. It could be a tiny bit higher. We won't know until the assessment process is complete. But without giving you an official number, I don't want you to have surprises here. It could be $20,000, okay? Now, I want to point this out. I want to point this out. There are several ways to pay this. Number one, you can pay this all up front if you wish, okay? The other way to do it is they put it on your property taxes, okay? So this would be spread out over a 20-year period. And if you sell your home, it goes to the next homeowner, okay? So let's say the number comes back at $20,000, okay? Over a 20-year period, let's say approximately $100 extra a month on your taxes, and that's how it gets paid. Again, we have no choice in how we do this. This is how they force us to do this.
Taxes are already $6,800 a year.
Yeah.
What is the interest on that?
I do not know the answer to that question. I wish the law director was here. If you please contact me after the event, and I'll find out for you exactly. Do you know?
I will mention that the interest rate is very low. The city has the ability to get lower interest rates, which is one of the benefits to doing this. And one last thing, I do want to mention that keep in mind this is an EPA mandated project. It's not the city that's telling you that you have to do this. We're being forced to do this.
Who's the loan by? The city?
No, we'll have to get the loan elsewhere.
Yeah, we'll get the loan elsewhere.
Borrow at a lower rate.
So let's answer a couple basic questions that I think you probably have. What if I don't want to do this? As Matt mentioned, and I've mentioned a couple times, this is an EPA mandated project. There is no way around it. This is something that every homeowner is going to be forced to do. I wish it was not true, but that is the case. How do you pay for it? We already talked about that. Phase 1 of the project, you can pay upfront, or you can have it put on your property taxes over a period of 20 years. What happens if you sell your home? the taxes go on to the next homeowner. So it's not something you have to deal with forever if you leave the city. I can't afford to do this. What do I do? This is a really good question. I wish the law director was here. I'm hoping that there is some way to do some type of loans or things that we can do. I have to speak to the finance department, but if you have that question, please reach out to me and I will investigate it for you.
How about connection?
We'll get to that. Will I be able to get out of my driveway? Well, there are going to be points in time where there may be a lot of trucks and backhoes in front of your home. And the construction firm that we're going to choose is going to have a clear mandate on how they are going to do the streets, and they're going to do their best possible job to make sure that it's as convenient as possible for you. What streets are we going to start with, and when will my street be scheduled? There's no way for us to know this right now. What we do know is that when the project starts, the construction firm and our engineers will come up with a plan, and I will communicate with you on which street is going to be started. It will not happen all at once. Obviously, they'll say, hey, maybe we're going to start on Twilight, maybe we're going to start on Hillside, and they'll go from street to street to street. And remember, this is a 1.5-year long project. So they're going to spread out over all these homes over a 1.5 years. So this project could start, and you might not see anyone on your street for a year or longer, okay? And if I put it on my taxes, when will I see that first reflected? And I think this is a really important point. Because of the way this project is set up and how long it's going to take, I don't anticipate, based upon the conversations I've had with finance and the law director, that this will actually appear reflected on your taxes until 2019 or after, okay? So this is not something that's going to take an immediate effect on your taxes. This is something that's going to happen down the road. I'm sure you have more questions, and we'll get to those in a second. Let's talk about phase 2. So is everybody comfortable with how phase 1 understands how it works? Okay, good. So phase 2 is phase 2. So phase 2 happens when you have to get your septic tank removed. Now this part is completely on you in terms of your homeowner. You don't have to do anything with the city. You can go out and contract anyone you wish to come in and crush your septic tank and tie your home into the sewer lines that the city has installed. Now, I will make a great point with this, is that I think it's very beneficial to every single one of you to work together with this process. For example, if you have neighbors, if you have neighbors that you get along with, maybe work together and find a contractor that you can negotiate some type of rate where you can get a lower rate. Because any person who, contractor has been in this business long enough is going to say, hey, look, if you can get me 10 homes in your neighborhood here, I'm probably going to knock a significant chunk of change off your bill. Now, I want to be the front person in helping you with that moving forward. So when we get to that point in 2 years from now or 3 years from now, I will be there to help you organize that. And one of the things I want to do is I want to bring in contractors into a public meeting like this and set them up at tables. Bring 4 or 5 of them in and have you guys come in and meet them. Take their information, talk to them, find out if they're the right one for you. You can choose whomever you wish. I'd also like to create a way for you to work together in probably an online forum, maybe someplace if you're online, where you could go and communicate with your neighbors and say, hey, let's work together on this project. Okay, so I want to just be very clear with you that we're doing everything we possibly can to make this as simple and cost-effective for you as we go along. So we are pretty much done. Like I said, this is short and sweet. I know you probably have a million questions. Before you come up and ask questions, I just want to point out that I have business cards up here. Before you leave, please take a copy of my business card, take it with you. You'll contact me directly with any questions related to finance, related to construction, related to anything. Please contact me and I will work to get you the answer as quickly as possible. Okay, and there's my email address up there as well and my phone number. I expect to hear from a lot of you and I expect that you will call me and say, Jim, this is not working right. Jim, I have more questions, whatever. So what I'd like to do now is open this up for questions. If you would like, please come up to the microphone here, ask your question, and we'll get the experts to answer it for you. Does anyone have a question? I couldn't have explained it that great that nobody has a question. Would you please come up to the microphone, please? Like I said, this is going to be short and sweet. I don't want to keep you here all evening.
For one,
Yes, sir.
yeah, for one thing, you said around $20,000 to $22,000. For one thing, you just priced me out of my house. You really did. Like I said, my taxes are $6,800 a year. I'm on a fixed income. I'm buried right now. I'm barely making it. And I mean, that's ridiculous. I already talked to one contractor and he told me, like you said, you get more people you get, the better we can do. He's figuring the more people I get, he says, if I can get half a dozen people or so, $3,000 he can do a house for, roughly.
For the phase 2
For
part.
the tie-in.
Yeah, for the tie-in.
Yeah.
Great.
That's
That seems like a very affordable rate.
Yeah, and that's what tie-in.
I think everybody.
But now that varies, that can vary, that he said there could be inside plumbing that he has to do.
Correct.
He said that's something altogether different. But he says basically if it's a matter of staying outside with the permits and everything, around $3,000. So that's one thing I have found out so far. He
Great.
lives right on Nemeth.
Okay.
Okay, but as far as this thing with I mean, that's crazy. It is. I don't know what, I mean, I wish to Christ you could get rid of the damn Parma because it's ridiculous. Every damn year we turn around, Parma wants more damn money. This is ridiculous with Parma.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I had some control. Believe me, if we didn't have to do this, we wouldn't be doing it. But again,
Yeah, I
this is
know,
EPA
but I
mandated.
mean, where am I supposed to get this money?
Well, if you reach out to me after, you take my
Don't
phone
worry,
number.
I'm gonna reach out.
Thank you. And
I'm gonna reach out hard.
And I will do some research for you and find out how we're going to handle that. Yes, sir.
My question is, how do you guys do the open bidding process? Because if I know public contracts, you have to go out, you solicit the bids, and you take the lowest cost and do that. But the way I'm looking at it right now is, being a corporate negotiator myself, and that jobs like this are not readily out there, how much can you negotiate to lower the total cost? Because you're looking, I calculated $21,000 a household. Plus, you're relying on the homeowners and everybody here to do their own negotiation. Not everybody does that. Can't the city, since the city is imposing this, is there somebody that can say, hey, let's get the group together? Because a lot of people may not use computers. They may not understand that. So could you group people together and work with them and negotiate instead of throwing it all on them?
For phase 2.
Yeah, for phase 2, because I'm saying you probably could reduce that cost in half. And just to give you an idea, I have over $200 million of contracts I negotiate for my work. And if you're doing open bidding, and I understand that it's a little bit different in public contracts, but why can't there be negotiation in there? You're looking at $10 million for 305 homes.
So for phase 2, which is you're talking the tie-in from your home to the sewer.
I'm talking both.
Okay, so I can answer for phase 2. Phase 2, this is a private arrangement between you and a contractor. But as I mentioned, I want to be all over that and help you negotiate that. So absolutely, I'm going to do everything I can. For phase 1, the bidding process, there's a legal process, and Stuart can answer that question.
Okay, for phase 1, that's regulated by state law and how we advertise in the newspapers. Now we go above and beyond that. We're going to solicit as many qualified contractors as we can. There's other bid reporting services we use to get that word out there, like Dodge and Cleveland Builders Exchange are excellent forums where they have copies of the plans, and we'll get, we should get quite a good cross-section of bidders to competitively bid on this project. And the bids are open in public.
Okay, so there's really not a whole lot of negotiation you can do like you could in the private sector on the public sector.
On the public sector, no. The only
Okay.
thing, the thing we could do is advertise, advertise, advertise.
Okay, now the question on, I have one more question here, or actually two more. When you assess this, you're going to start assessing the that's $3,000 to $5,000. That's on top of everything else that they won't have this in charge of their taxes. Is there an option that the city could work with them on that? Because that's a huge hit for these homeowners here.
That's certainly something we can start looking at. But one of the purposes of getting together today is because, that $3,000 to $5,000 bill isn't going to be until 2019. We're trying to give you as much heads up as possible so you can start planning appropriately.
Well, the reason I'm saying it is because wages aren't growing, cutbacks are here, yet taxes are there. So is it going to be any better now? Even if you start investing that much money in a month, you're basically buying a new car and have to start investing for it now, where a lot of people don't have it. And that's what I'm trying to say. How much can the city, and I understand the EPA opposed that, but doesn't the EPA have programs that they can do that assesses and helps people out with this, broader than just Seven Hills?
That's definitely something we're going to look into. Again, we're in the very initial phases of this, and that phase is 2 to 3 years away. But we're certainly, and Jim has already been looking into things that we can do to attempt to lower that cost to each person.
I mean, I understand, guys. You guys are the firewall. You're taking the brunt of the beatings here. But in looking at it, what else? In other words, what is the city can do to alleviate as much of the expense? This guy here did a great job getting 2.5 million. But what other grants are available for that? Because look at one of the things I'd look at is look at the median income of that relation of that homeowner versus the taxes versus they're making. That's setting a lot of people back. And I just said maybe there's more extra help that can be done with that.
We are absolutely looking into every possible thing. I know in terms of getting grants, additional grants, that we've exhausted that process. And because we're so far into the process, there was another grant that I know we didn't get that we applied for. So our engineers and our team has absolutely exhausted the process of trying to find more money for this. But I do agree with your point. We're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we manage this the best possible way. And remember, this is a very early initial meeting. What I say in the beginning, I don't want surprises. I didn't want you coming to me in 2 years and going, Jim, why didn't you guys tell us about this? That's the absolute worst possible thing that we could have done. So we're being very upfront with you right now.
And you get to present the higher numbers here, and you try to work it down. I understand that the initial shock hits you, because I did the same thing with my people. But the question I'd ask has, and this is premature, is at the end of this, have you done everything you can to reduce the expense of the homeowners? Because a lot of people don't have the money to pay for this. Yeah, and I'm sorry, retired as well. And everybody knows how much Social Security is paying for people. I'm on my soapbox right now.
That's a very good question. And one of the things that we have actually seen in the last couple of years, every year the EPA has different types of programs, and they do add different things for different reasons. So as this continues to fold out, we will have more opportunities to see how the law changes and if they're adding more funds that we would qualify for here in Seven Hills.
Now, part of Seven Hills has sewer systems, right? Was it assessed the same way to them?
That's a question I don't know.
These are the last 305 homes in the entire city that have to do this.
Understand, but what about the previous homes that were assessed?
The last project, I believe, was 10 years.
I guess I should stand up with my yellow shirt or orange shirt. But, we've had other assessment projects. We probably saw one a couple of years ago on Broadview Road. So it's typical. This procedure is very typical.
Okay, so how'd you guys come up with the 8, 9 to 10 million? Was that based on previous assessments or just a forecasted number?
Construction cost estimate based on the quantities of sewer pipe and the depth of the sewer and other. And this project also has new roads included because you need new roads anyway. Just that makes everyone feel a little better, but the cost includes paving the streets.
Yeah, but the cost of paving the street, that should be covered by the city, not by the citizens, right?
Maybe I put my foot in my mouth, but there are certain costs that are borne by the city. By law, there's certain costs that the city has to pay. So we're a shareholder in this too.
I understand, but I think it would really help is if you guys get your bids diagram what the costs are. What's the cost for the roads? Because that shouldn't be, the citizens pay taxes for the road. This gentleman's paying $6,400 a year. Why should he pay for the road? He's paying enough for his sewer and his septic system he's got to remove.
They're tearing the streets up anyway.
That's why we're replacing them.
Well, you answered my questions for now, guys.
Thank you.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you. All right, let's see if we can get the rest of these questions in. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
How long do I have to do the tie-in after phase 1 is done?
The question was, how long do I have to do the phase 2 part, which is the tie into the sewer? And Stuart knows the answer to that.
It comes from the health department. Usually it's 90 days, but they do give extensions. And I would expect in this case that they grant extensions.
How long of an extension can I get?
I've seen them as long as a year.
And do I have to crush the septic, or can I use it as a cistern for gray water or plants? And
As far as I know, the septic has to be properly abandoned, which includes pumping out the sewage and filling it with dirt and crushing the top.
so my 3-year-old septic is going to be crushed.
Typically, yes. I'm not aware of any exceptions.
Okay.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
All right. We're gonna pay $20,000.
Everybody, please.
We're gonna pay approximately $20,000 to run this thing down our street per person, right? Okay. Then after that, I have to pay the city of Cleveland sewer. Why am I paying sewer all right, and I gotta pay them $20,000 to put this thing down my street? It's gonna be paid on for the rest of the time that house is standing there, or whatever house is standing wherever. We're gonna pay $20,000, so they're getting off pretty much. What did they tell you they were gonna give you, $2 million? $2.4 million. Man,
Right.
they're gonna make that up in the first year. Then I gotta pay for the guy to run it from my house to the street. All right, that's probably about another $7,000 approximate, okay? So the city of Cleveland's getting out of this scot-free for $2.4 million, and we're gonna be paying $20,000. What's $20,000 a person or a household come up to for 304 houses? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this is ridiculous. The city of Cleveland's gonna make this money. Why shouldn't they pay for the sewers going down the street?
This absolutely stinks. I agree with you.
No, I'm just asking. I'm gonna be paying for it for the rest of my life.
I'm sorry, sir. They are forcing the city of Seven Hills to do it. That's the
I
answer.
understand they're forcing you to do it.
We
The
have-
EPA is forcing.
We have
everybody to do it.
absolutely zero.
But the city of Cleveland's gonna make all this money, and we're gonna be out all this money?
There's
doesn't
no
seem fair
bright
to
side
me.
to this.
I mean, we're gonna be paying for it the rest of our lives.
The rest of the homes in the city have already done this and are already paying it. You are just the last 305 to be
I
part of this
understand that.
process.
And if we would have been the first 305, it would have been $10,000 a year, or $10,000 to get it done. Now it's 20 because we're the last 300.
The assessments for the cost of constructing the sewer and the appurtenances, the sewer bill is for treating the sewage. It goes to the
I
Northeast
understand what
Ohio
it is. I
Regional Sewer
understand what
District.
it is, all right? And you pay your water bill and the sewer, the
correct.
sewer bill's like 3 times what a water bill is. Approximately. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. My parents live in Parma and I know what their sewer bill is compared to their water bill. So they're making money on this, no matter how you look at it. The city of Cleveland's gonna be, if that house lasts 100 years, all right? They're gonna get 100 years. If it lasts 500 years, they're gonna get 500 years worth of money out of it. We're paying for it now to alleviate the bill on them, is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, there's gotta be more money coming out of this, all right, from the city of Cleveland.
This is the
It's
process.
ridiculous
Yeah, it's
is what it
ridiculous.
is.
It really is.
Like I said, if it was 10 years ago, it would have cost me $10,000.
Yeah.
Now it's 20.
Well, to your point, when I walked the homes this summer, most people told me that said they've been waiting for this to come for 40 or 50 years. They've been told it's been coming for that long. I have no idea why these are the last 305 homes that they decided to do. I really don't have the answer to that question. I haven't been around long enough. I've only been in the city
I've only
20
been in the
years.
city for, I don't know, 15 years.
Yeah, so.
Okay, I don't know, but it's
Yeah, it's
really ridiculous.
This is really very difficult.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a couple questions. The first one that I had is there staging areas planned? Like, do you guys already know where your staging areas
No,
are?
we still have to do the bidding with the contractor,
Okay.
and then a plan will come forth with the service director and our engineers, and they will come up and tell you.
Okay, and then Cherry Lane is where I live, in the top of our street. They already had theirs put in, and it wasn't that long ago.
Mhm.
But I'm getting different numbers. That's a lot, like, way off from what I'm hearing. Now, I don't have the exact figures, so I'm not gonna say your numbers are wrong in any way, but what I'm asking is, did they have a grant also? And was it different than this one?
I wasn't here when they did that project. Do you
Yeah, I
remember
know you weren't.
how long ago Cherry Lane project was?
Wasn't that long ago.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I
haven't been
don't
here for
know.
so
I
really
mean,
long.
obviously there's inflation and I don't know how many homes there were. There could have been more homes done in that
Okay.
project. Remember, it's amortized across the home
Yeah,
count.
that's what I'm wondering.
So that could have been 500 homes or 600 homes and we're only at 300.
I got to answer one thing about this project and probably why it was never done before. Because of the terrain, it is a more difficult project than some of the other projects the city has done. You have a lot of hilly terrain. In some cases, sewer has to go extra deep, so we could accommodate as many homes as possible.
See, what I was told was that it's because of the way the runoff is with the watershed. So what they were saying is the last of the streets couldn't be tied in because of the way the watershed project was going, that the end streets, because I've been trying to figure out when this was coming. So I'm not upset that it's here. I just need to know, the process and also the question about the top of the street being so different in price. So is that something you could get back to us on? Or here's my other question is the city, there's a city engineer, right? So is he present? Is that who does all of this? Because that's who was answering my questions before.
The city engineer is not present. We just fired them.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, guys.
That's okay. The new city
Sorry about that.
engineer, that's okay. The new city engineers are in the back.
Okay.
They're starting May 1st. They're going to be very involved in this project.
Okay.
If you have questions about that,
Yeah,
contact us.
so should I contact them to get some of this information? Because I had talked to, okay,
Go through.
thanks, Jim. Okay. Wait, I have another one, I'm sorry. Sidewalks and streetlights. So I know when they talked about doing this before, they were saying when the end of Cherry Lane is done and when, Seven Hills Boulevard, thank you, I live there. Seven Hills Boulevard, I live on Cherry, but I live at the corner. So they were saying that they were gonna do sidewalks and street lamps at the same time. Are they doing that? Is that something that's in the
No.
plan? Okay. I'm glad that it's not, so I'm not for it, but, and then the other thing was about storm drains. So I'm assuming I just want to know a little bit more about storm drains, and my concern is where we all live and the fact that it's considered the lowest. I'm just worried about our storm drains backing up, because I know a lot of people as they've tied into sewer have had that problem. So is that an engineer question?
It's an engineer question. I could
Okay.
answer that between myself and the design engineer CT consultants. But we have included in this project certain areas we identified where there's problems with the storm sewer. So we're fixing quite a few things here, storm sewers, of course, putting a new sanitary in. We have to put new roads in. City of
Yeah, we have like
Cleveland.
giant holes in our street to the point where you can see like
Right.
pretty far down.
Correct,
So-
and we're even putting new water mains in, so this thing
Okay.
is done right. Because any utilities that are bad, we want to get them fixed and
Okay. Yeah, because
replaced.
they kind of Band-Aided it when they did the top of the street. They came down and it was a big
There
mess.
is really no silver lining to this project, except for the fact that the reason your road has not been fixed in all of these years is because they've been anticipating this project. So once this is done, then if we're doing a road program, believe me, I will be fighting that we can have these roads repaired, because some of these roads are the worst in the city, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you guys.
They are being completely repaired?
When this is done, every road in this project will have a brand new street, brand new blacktop road.
See, I'm new, I'm learning something new every day, everybody. Go ahead.
You said about an easement. Does everybody have to sign an easement, or is it just certain houses?
Everybody in the project has. Some are bigger than the other ones, aren't they? Some don't have to sign. I wish the law director was here, so if you want to contact me after, I will find out for you. Or do you know the answer to that,
Because
Bob?
I have never received anything.
Bob can answer that.
Yeah, as far as the project goes, most of the work is being done in the public right-of-way. So for those areas that are in the right-of-way, no easements are needed. Where we have portions of the project that would encumber or require the contractor to be on your property for any reason, those are the areas that we have put together easement documents that the law director will be bringing out, if he hasn't already done so, to your individual homes. So no, not everybody will get an easement. Not everybody will need to sign an easement. So If you have specific questions about that, we do have the drawings up here and we can look at your lots with you. Just don't have a line that goes to midnight or 1 a.m., okay? We'll be all right.
I know another thing too, that the city of Cleveland, once these sewers are in, every one of us people are gonna have to pay for the rainwater coming off of our roofs. They take the square footage and they charge us for it. And there's where we are gonna get socked a big bill each month. Every 3 months, we're gonna have a real high bill of more than a couple $100.
Thank you.
Whether
Yes, sir.
these people know it or not.
Actually, I think the young lady that just left asked the same kind of question. But I come to some meetings about 3 or 4 years ago. I live on Cherry Lane. They did part of Cherry Lane in Nemeth. And because of like you said, the terrain, they stopped as the hill went up from Broadview Road, and everything stopped because they thought they had to put in a station somewhere, a pumping station. Is that still in the works? Is there going to be a pumping station?
There's one pumping station for Shady Lane and Mary Lane. Am I right? Or just Mary? How many homes, Bob?
There's about 40 homes.
There you go.
On the Mary Street, north, south, and Mary's, that all, because of terrain, because of where it's at, we designed in a sewer pumping station to collect those homes individually. Where is that at? It's right in the very corner of North Mary and Mary, right in an existing sewer easement, right on that curve. Very small. We have the drawings that we can show you afterwards, but it's really going to look a lot like when you go down and you see the AT&T boxes sitting out there for where they have all the U-verse and those types of things, big stainless steel enclosures. It's going to pretty much look like that, a stainless steel enclosure that you're going to see on top of a concrete pad, and that's about all you'll see.
Don't think.
The line's gonna run too.
You have the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Well, the other question is about the grants. When I went to the meetings, and it didn't really affect me because I know I was too high up. I'm in the middle of Cherry Lane, but those assessments back then, and I don't think it was less than 4 years ago, were in the $14,000 range for 80-foot frontage. And I don't know, and like if it's that much of inflation and going from 14,000.
Do you guys remember how many homes it was?
No, I didn't. I'm not privy to that. I don't
Do you know?
But if that was the case,
No, every single project that goes out for an assessment, whether it's part of Cherry last time versus the other part now, each project is handled individually. The costs for that project are calculated for that project based on what that project needs. Then the total number of benefiting properties, you guys, that's in the denominator, so you divide that out. Every project is going to have its own cost. And the other side of Cherry may have been a lot easier, less terrain, may have been a lot less expensive. This side, because of the terrain, because of the other issues that we're facing, is more expensive. It's nothing to do with what the city's doing. This is just the cost for that. Now, when the project is bid and after it's built, we'll actually have final actual construction numbers. And the final assessments are based off of that. So I know your neighbors on the other side of Cherry may have had a much less cost than this project. Somebody else may have a much higher cost. We don't have the ability to arbitrarily just set assessments. It's based on that project.
okay, there was, I forgot the last question. I had one more question, but that's good. I just needed to know because I know there was a big difference there for that project. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I live on Nemeth. We do get flooding all the time. What's this going to do about the flooding?
The best way is we look at the plans here. We'll show you the plans, I think, between myself and the engineer. I want to hear any problems that people are having.
Do you know why we're getting flooding? Why it comes up through the sewers? Will this change it or not?
We're going to go over that. I mean, no, it's not going to make it worse, but we're looking to make things better. Like I said before, we're replacing storm sewers as needed as part of this project to improve drainage because we don't want any problems either. We don't want any problems, but you're welcome to look at the plans.
Okay, now, right now, do they clean the sewers very often? Yeah. Because if they clean the sewers, we might not get as much flooding. I don't see anybody cleaning the sewers.
We clean sewers, both storm and sanitary sewers around the city. Just let me know and let me have your address and what the problem is. We'll be glad to help.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Are those plans available online?
These are all public record, but I don't know if they're online.
No, at this point, these plans are not online because these are not final plans. At the point that this project actually goes to bidding, these plans will be online and they'll be on our website. I don't know if the city has a website. Well, they'll post them as well, but they will be on ours.
Okay.
I'll get them to you. Don't worry, I'll get them to you.
So another question was I'm back on Mary Lane. Were all the homes' depth of the sewer taken into consideration? Because I know, at least in my house, I have a real deep septic tank, the inlet at least. So should I be conscious of changing existing plumbing inside of my house?
That's a very good question. What we did as we laid out these sewers is we tried to locate where every septic tank was according to the records from the Cuyahoga County Health Department. Some of them didn't have those records, but we did our best attempt to figure out where they were. The second thing we did is we shot everybody's first floor stoop elevation based at your front doors when we were surveying. From that, we took a standard basement and we did the normal typical calculations for depth from a standard basement so that we could get everybody, or as many as possible, served with direct flow. If you have an especially deep basement for some reason, or if your septic tank is real deep or where you come out of your house is deep, please let us know. We want to look at those with you. There are, I think, 5 properties identified on our plans that in order to try to balance depth and everything else, that they may likely require a sewer lift station. So if that's you, let's take a look at that, or if you think you have an issue, so that we can try to see how that can be resolved.
Are you able to give us those addresses or let us know so we don't have to wait in the line? Because I mean, I'd like to talk about that, but I just don't know about the time.
Well, I don't have the addresses, but they show up on my set of drawings here. I can have those addresses for you in a few minutes.
I'll get them for you after the.
Oh, because that would be a huge.
He's going to look for them.
Oh yeah. And then,
Again, everybody, after the meeting, if you have something you need or a question you have, please contact me. Best way to do it is email. And this is a good time to mention this. I have a website where you can go sign up and get on an email list. And if you get on the email list, you'll get all the updates about this sent to you via email. So I would appreciate it's just basically it's on my card here, okay?
all right. And then
So-
the size of the mains going in, do they have? I'm sure they have that determined of the actual.
The actual size of the mains?
Yeah, the sanitary mains are all 8-inch diameter, except for at the very tail end on Shady over to Forest Overlook, they're 10-inch diameter.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around why you stopped 4 years ago or 5 years ago, why you stopped putting sewers in where you stopped. You're talking about the terrain?
I would glad to answer that. The EPA twisted our arm. There was a mandate and there were potential fines that were going to come from the Attorney General, State Attorney General, if we did not comply. The other project you saw was called the West Creek Sanitary Sewer Project. There are different phases. This is Hemlock Creek, a different circuit, but City of Seven Hills and Parma got dinged by the EPA, and that's why we had to do that project.
No, I understand why I've been wanting sewers I've been calling my councilman for years I hear that sewers are coming and I'm dancing, okay? My septic tank is failing like everybody else is probably in this room or the majority of people. So every time I heard wind of sewers were coming, I was all excited. Well, needless to say, they never came. And then I live on Hillside. I think there's probably 10 houses on Hillside that still are on the septic systems. Now, I still don't understand why, when you did Hillside, why you couldn't include 10 more houses. I don't understand this different.
They drained to a different path. That's why.
the street is as flat as this ground. How can it drain to a different, I don't understand.
It does. We could show you, we could show you the sewer plans and the master plan for the sanitary sewers, but this project is draining in a different direction. You typically, when you build a sanitary sewer, you follow the grade of the road.
Okay, in other words, when you put the sewers in front of my house, they're not gonna tie into the one that's 4 doors away from me.
The sewers on this project are isolated from the other sewers. I didn't hear what street you lived on?
Hillside.
Hillside, okay. So you're flowing, depending on which way you go on Hillside, where are you at?
I'm across from the junior high school, or the middle school.
Okay, you're right by, okay. So yeah, you're flowing, your sewers are going to flow eastward towards the Seven Hills Boulevard easement and then north along Seven Hills.
So we won't be tied in at all from what they did in the first,
Nope.
the first part of Hillside.
All the houses that were not sewered before in this portion of the projects are all tied into these new sewers that are going in.
Okay, another question. The sewer bills that people get when they have sewers. Now, is this for the sanitary sewer or is this for the storm sewer? Because we have neither. I guess my question is, are we gonna ever have storm sewers on Hillside? And if not, what do we do with all the groundwater? What do we do?
There's the city charges a storm maintenance fee and a sanitary maintenance fee every year.
Yeah, for the ditch in the front of my house. I'm saying, how do I tie into this ditch in the front of my house?
You would come to the building department or engineering department with a plan, and we'll help you out. You know,
A plan, I dig a ditch from my house to the.
You want to tie like your downspouts in, or a yard drain, or I'm not sure what.
It looks like the ditch is higher than my house is.
I understand.
Okay, I go 2 foot down to put some type of
I
PVC
understand.
pipe. By the time I get to the street, I'm below the ditch.
I understand.
Well, my question is, what are we supposed to do with the water that stands in our backyard? And what are we supposed to do with our downspouts?
Downspouts cannot be tied into the sanitary sewer. Right?
Exactly.
And I mean, every property is different. There's some properties that are below the street level. It makes it very difficult to drain. If there's an, I don't know.
I guess my question is, why did they let him build this house then?
None of us were here.
No,
depending on the age
realize
of the
that.
home.
I heard stories that there was when Cherry Lane, the properties on Cherry Lane and Hillside met. I was told that there was a little creek that ran down there between the two properties. Okay, and I also hear that when they developed these properties, they just filled it in. Okay, so getting back to the water standing in my backyard, and I'm not the only backyard that has ponds. You go down Hillside and there's one guy.
You're welcome. In fact, even tomorrow, if you want, come to my office. We'll try to figure some of that out. I'd like, I mean, that's all I could say. I can't explain everything that was done in the past.
No,
it doesn't please me either.
I understand it, but it's you know, you want to hear what the problems that people having in Seven Hills are.
Right.
You know, now we're gonna get hit with a $20,000 bill. That's, if I wanted to leave Seven Hills, who the hell is gonna buy my house knowing there's a 20-year attachment to their water bill, to their sewer bill?
This is,
It's gonna affect the
this is
price
a
of-
tough issue.
Yes,
And
it
this is the reason we're having this meeting. And that's what I talked about in the beginning. You need to be heard, and we need to understand that you're concerned about this. And we will do everything we possibly can to get you the answers you need to make sure this runs smoothly. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, sir.
I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
One is, if you have a duplex house, and you have a one water meter, and you have a 2 septic tanks, how much I would be paying for it?
Stuart, can you answer that question? I mean, both tanks have to be removed, don't they? Yeah.
You have two, so what do you have, a duplex or?
Yeah.
We'll look at the plans. let's look at the plans after the meeting.
Yeah, other
And I could
question I
talk
have
more
for you,
until-
city officials,
Pardon?
for city officials, not just you guys, even older guys. When new projects were built in Seven Hills, there was money for sewers. But for all the houses that were built before them, there was no money for sewers. Answer me that question. Thank you.
I guess the question was, there was money for the sewers and older projects, and now there's no money. So was there money? We typically assessed, right? So, yeah, it's been this way for forever. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was looking at that paper that you passed out. It's kind of vague, and the slide presentation kind of elaborates a lot better. Do you have a website that you can put?
Yes, if you go to my
so that
website,
we
which
can-
is, I know it sounds very politically, it's votekukrell.com, and you go sign up, I will be posting this on my website as well as sending it out to all the hundreds of people on my email list.
Just like an actual slide presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything she went through.
And by the way, we're actually recording this meeting and it will be on YouTube right after the meeting. So if you want to watch it back and
Yeah, I like
do
to have
that.
something because it's kind of hard to remember everything.
Absolutely. I want to make sure you all get all the updated information. There's no way for me to communicate with you without spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And if I do it through the city, it costs the city $1,000 to send out a letter. If you want to get on my email list, you'll get all the updates I have about this project, and you should contact me. And you can always, but sir, you can always call me too, or just come, yeah, you can call me too. It's just for people who like the digital updates.
I just.
Oh, the slideshow will be up on the
That's-
website by tomorrow
Be
morning.
able to take a look at it, analyze it, go over it.
Absolutely.
And that way, because the paper we have is pretty vague.
Yeah, this was, well, we tried to keep the cost down to residents of not printing out the whole thing, 300 people. So I will absolutely, and if you email me, I'll send you the link tonight.
Email.
Yep, that's it.
We're in the digital age, so.
You got it, yeah. Everything, yeah. Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? I'll do that. I'll update the slide later and I'll add extra slides in it and sure, no problem. I can do that. Like I said, it's all going to be on my website if you want to go there. But it's also at this, well, I'll try to get on the city website. I don't have control of the city website.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but I want the final edition of whatever you're going to put on there, as far as the answers and the questions. And then that way I can take a look at it.
Great.
More so than just getting one and then having to go back.
Great.
Something. So how long do you think all that may take you
To get you the presentation?
to get the president as far as the answers and to the questions?
How about noon tomorrow?
Okay. That'll work.
Can you give me till 3? I'll get it done for you. I will absolutely get it done for you. I'm here to help. Yes, ma'am. There's my cards up here. Yes, ma'am.
I have a few things I'd like
Please,
to
can you
mention.
step closer? Thank you.
I've lived on my street since 1952, Hillside.
You got me beat. I've only been here 20 years.
And behind me, there used to be a wetlands. And we used to go and find frogs and pollywogs and all sorts of,
Yes.
and when they put Cherry Lane in, that was covered up. And I think that's what's causing our main water issues that are the clean water issues. Secondly, the pipe that I have taking my clean water out to the ditch, would that be interrupted by the work that was being done?
I can't answer that question. Bob, can you answer that question?
I'm talking about the one that takes my downspout and my basement sump pump water, that's clean water, out to the front and it empties into the ditch.
I don't. Yeah.
Also, your diagram indicated that the main pipe that you're going to put in for phase 1 goes under the street. But I have been asked for an easement and it looked like they needed a 10-foot wide strip there. Is that pipe going actually in my front yard?
That's for construction purposes. We anticipate the contractor will temporarily be on your property.
But the
during
pipe's still going
construction.
under the street?
Pardon?
Is the pipe going under the street, the main pipe?
It's going to be, all the pipes are in city property. What street are you on?
On a hillside.
Hillside. It's all city property. We could show you on the plans.
Yeah, and that's a great question. The figure we had up here was for representation purposes only. No, not in all cases. The sewer is not under the pavement. It is in the city's right-of-ways or easements, but most of it is off the actual pavement. in the future that keeps the cost down for any type of maintenance on those sewers. In some places, we have to put it under the pavement. In others, it's on the lawn strip, if you will. On Hillside, for example, we are in the lawn strip. Because they're so close to your property, there needs to be a construction temporary easement to allow the contractor room to put the pipes and the sewer services in the ground, and then he'll have to restore it when he is done.
What do you mean I have to restore it when it's done?
The contractor.
Oh, okay, you said. And when I was given the utilities of the easement form, it listed the utilities that would be affected, and the natural gas lines were not listed there. And we have, I believe there's like a high pressure gas line through quite a bit of the area there. So I don't know why that was left
Are you
out.
worried that it's going to affect that?
Pardon?
Are you worried that's going to be affected?
I think it should have been listed under utilities when they put all the others
I
there.
can't answer that question. I don't see that being, we're not impacting any of that. It's simply for the septic and the sewer.
So be really careful with
Yeah, it should.
avoiding that, all
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thanks for having the meeting. I hope you have another one in the future.
Yes, sir.
I was under the assumption that the assessments were based on the frontage of your property.
There were two ways we could do it. You could do it based upon the frontage of your property, or you could spread it out across all of the homes. City Council made a decision in the last month or so to do it the way that the city has done it in
So
the
I'm going
past,
to
which
wind
is
up
to
paying
spread it out.
twice as much as someone that has.
Well, no, everyone pays equal.
I understand that. but it
So
would be-
somebody on, there's a home on Parmalee that has a very big frontage. Now, they may end up having paid $40,000, but they have the same amount of toilets in their home, correct? So that's why it's a fair way to do it.
Okay. Also, is the storm drain in my garage going to be an issue once these are put in? Will I have to get rid of that? No?
I can't answer that question because where does your storm drain go to?
Which address, which property are you at?
I'm on North Mary, 2623. There's a drain in the garage. Do I have to get rid of that? And the reason I ask is because I'm replacing a driveway. And the next question is going to be, are they going to affect the driveway by doing construction?
To look at your property, you need to stop over here when we're all done.
Okay.
Because different properties will be affected different ways. When the sanitary sewer goes in, your garage drain cannot go into the sanitary sewer.
So that'll
It'll have to stay in the storm sewer
Okay.
where it currently goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi.
Hey, we're going to keep taking questions until you're done. Keep going.
So with that gentleman's question about the garage and the draining, and I heard some other concerns about plumbing and changing things around in the house. So I just wanted to come up while you guys are here. I'm a first-time home buyer. I just moved in like 2 months ago.
Welcome.
So a big selling point of the house that we have is that there's an addition on the back of the house. There's a new deck on the back of the house. So like similar to everybody's concerns about the garage and the plumbing, my concern is with like the addition on the back and getting access to the sanitary points, because it seems like there's two, one on each side of my basement. So maybe I'll have to tear up the deck that's new. And
Let's hope not.
You know, so basically I wanted to come up and ask, being that I'm a first-time home buyer, is there any state or government grants or programs that I should be aware of so I don't miss out on like if I have to do like a major construction like that on the house, like similar to, you know, whatever.
If there is, we're going to find it, believe me. Again, this is so early, but we're absolutely going to look into that.
Yeah, like that's what, like if there's assistance of someone that I could counsel me or something and knowing how to find these things. Yeah, that's.
Like I said,
that's exactly
we
what-
want to work with everybody and help you out as best as we can. Absolutely. Please take a card. Before you leave, please take one of my cards if you have, so you have my contact information. Yes, sir.
So to go back to the finances, and I understand this is an elevated view of the project, but it was $10 million estimate, minus 2.4 in a grant, minus $1 million for a grant from, or reimbursement from the Cleveland Water. It's my understanding that the city has a responsibility in the project as well, a percentage of the project, right?
That's correct. I don't have the breakdown with me.
What is
but
the percent? Is it 5%, 10%, 2%?
It has to do with, we pay for the intersections and what is it, 3%, Bob? But
Okay,
I
so-
don't want to misspeak. We'll have
So
those
let's
figures
assume it's-
for you at a later
For
date.
argument's sake, let's say it's 3%. So that's going to lower the cost for everybody. But also the concern that I have is this gentleman pays $6,800 a year in taxes. I pay what I pay. The streets are being repaired as part of this project. That's not our responsibility as homeowners. That's the city's responsibility that our tax dollars have been going to for infrastructure, for fixing roads. That shouldn't be all of our responsibility to replace all of these streets. That's the city's responsibility, council, mayor, all of that. So that, whatever that cost, let's assume minus the 3% brings it down to $5 million. Whatever that $5 million should be subtracted the cost of the streets, because that's not the homeowner's responsibility. It's not my responsibility to replace that street.
That decision was made, I don't know how long ago, and we can get you answers on those
So-
exact numbers. But
So what you're saying is poor city planning by council people, mayors, all of that is responsible for this, because those streets should be covered by taxes. Is that correct?
all I know is Matt can answer that.
Tim, a majority, if not all of the street repair is going to be covered by the city. There are some incidentals that need to be worked out.
The repairs are, the actual cost of replacing the street is my question.
Correct. Majority of that is on the city, if not all of it. We don't have firm numbers yet, but it's not part of, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but it's not part of the assessment.
Yes, it is. Will we see a breakdown of those numbers then?
A very small percentage, and Mr. Snitsky would be.
And then
I'm sorry?
The follow-up question is, say whatever the city's responsibility, 3%, whatever that is, that should be of the cost of the project, not the project plus the streets. That should be pulled out, is it correct?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Let's say the cost is 10 million, the 3% from the city comes off as that project. That the cost for the streets is not included in the 3% of the project. It should be 3% from the city for the project plus the replacement of the streets, correct? And I understand this is a high level, but that's a pretty big question. I think everybody.
We'll be providing a breakdown of all the associated costs. We're not prepared for that just yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm back. I was
Yeah,
with you
hi.
guys all the way until you said, I was big, the numbers weren't making sense. And then when you guys said that you're basically going to take the 305 homes and divide it up, I cannot accept that. And I think that needs to be revisited, because let me just tell you, we don't take all the taxes in the city. I own a smaller piece of property with a smaller frontage by design. I had an opportunity to purchase another home with a larger frontage in my same neighborhood and passed on that because I'm smart and said, I know sewers are going in. I've been doing my homework for years, and I should not have to pay for somebody else who has a bigger property than me.
I agree.
No. We don't divide up the taxes here, and I'm not paying for somebody else. So I was with you guys all the way, and I'm still backing everything but that, because that is not okay. I'm not paying for somebody else's property. And that is why the difference from the beginning of the street. So you said that we've always done it that way, but it did not happen that way. It was based on your frontage at the top of Cherry Lane.
Let me tell you this too, that everyone gets to participate during this assessment project, and this is all by law, that if anyone has any questions about the assessment or an objection, they could post it, and the city will have an equalization board hearing where there's a board of 3 disinterested property owners in the city, and they hear the complaints, they make a decision, it goes back to council. There's a lot of checks and balances in this project, in
So I
the
need to
process
post?
of an assessment to make it fair and reasonable.
Okay.
And we'll
So
keep
my
you
neighbors on
updated.
Cherry Lane that have little tiny properties, it sounds like we all need to post to this, because this is not acceptable that I'm paying for somebody
Once
else's
again,
property. I'm not
yes.
going to pay their taxes, and I'm
Once-
just going to pay mine.
There,
Okay, thank you guys.
Again, this is the starting process. So there weren't these surprises. Can you imagine what would have happened if we didn't have this meeting and somebody came into your door and said, and a road crew showed up in front of your house? That would have been the biggest disaster we could have ever possibly seen.
Let me tell you,
That's why we're doing this.
Everything that you guys have done thus far, with the exception of this, I've been all on board for. So this is the one thing that I just think you guys need to revisit, because I can't, even if I had the bigger property, I don't think it'd be fair for me not to pay, and my neighbor next to me that has a little property to pay for my property. It's just not right. So
Be in touch, and
Yeah,
we'll
okay.
let you know about that board. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's too bad this thing couldn't have been done 30 years ago before everybody retired. It would have been more affordable for them. So my question is, I'm not going to bitch about it. It has to happen, so I know that's the process. My question is the estimate. When you came up with your total estimate, you itemized all this. Is this a matter of public record? Can we see it?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Okay, this is a good question. We have an estimate that will not be seen by any potential bidders prior to their bidding, okay? Because our estimate hopefully will be higher than theirs. We do never want to influence what the bidders are doing, because we don't want them to think, oh, we can bid higher because the engineer had a higher estimate.
I'm sure your estimate's going to be higher because you have contingency in there and a lot of other things. And you want to make sure that, your estimate is going to be higher, because if it was lower and they came over you, people are going to be asking you,
that would be a
what
surprise
did you guys
for you.
do here, right?
Yeah,
And
that'd be a surprise
you've
for
been
you if you
around
don't
for a
want.
long time. You've done, I don't know how many of these you must have done, a lot. So you have a pretty good idea of exactly what all these costs are.
Correct.
Whether you want to share them with us or not, apparently not.
No, if you want to come by afterwards, I will lay out for you and you can look at the initial construction estimates as they are right now.
Right.
But again, this job is not finished yet, so it's still preliminary.
Do you have a separate contingency amount, or is it added into the unit cost for all the items?
No, there is a separate contingency on top of each individual item, and at this stage, it's a 10% contingency.
Right. And I'm just kind of curious. So now you're consultants to the city. Did you have to bid on that, or how did that happen?
Explain the process. Yeah, Bob will explain.
Okay, I'll explain it. I was not involved with this particular one, but yes, we had to bid on this job with the city.
Okay.
The normal selection process by the state of Ohio is a qualifications-based. That is how we got selected, and then we had to negotiate our fee with the city. Absolutely.
Okay. So are you, as far as like your estimate and things of that sort, are you under some sort of performance agreement where the estimate can't exceed a certain amount?
The answer to that is no. What we have in the estimate is based on what the final design is at this point. If the city adds to that design, the cost goes up. If they take away portions of the project, the cost would go down. There is no performance.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody wants to know, exactly what's in that estimate.
Yep.
But, roads and this and, lunge breaks or whatever, who knows? Rate of inflation, cost of material increases over the next couple of years, all that kind of stuff, I mean, it's kind of interesting.
Go ahead.
If I could ask you just one more question so I can let the other people go. So let's say, since you've done this a million times, you probably know phase 2, approximately what it's going to cost each homeowner to have that septic tank disconnected and crushed. Can you give us a ballpark idea?
The numbers that I've already heard today thrown out, between $3,000 and $5,000 on the outside of the home, is generally fairly typical. If they have to go into your home, all bets are off from that. Now, I will say, because this question came up before, am I going to have to do plumbing in my home? The general hope is that where your pipe goes out of your home, you'll be able to grab it there and bring it back. But depending on your house's layout and your situation, you may not want that. I've already talked to a couple of the homeowners, maybe you're here tonight, about things that they are planning to do because of how their home sits versus where the septic tank had to be 40, 50 years ago versus where they want to put things now. So there may be a reason you might want to make a change. But we can look at your individual properties and show you at least how we laid it out initially.
Okay, just last question. the phase two, I mean, somebody mentioned that you negotiate for everybody on phase two with some contractors, have them bid on it, unit prices per house or something. And basically without any surprises, whatever you uncover, it's covered. You're not going to hit them with extras and all that stuff, because that's kind of hard to negotiate for an average person. Contractor gets in there, and next thing you know is this is going to be extra, this is going to be extra, and next thing you know, you're in a fight. Can you guys negotiate, bid it out, and then maybe wrap it into the property taxes?
I don't believe we're allowed to do it based upon law, right? It's private property. The city is not allowed to negotiate contracts for you.
Right, the city can't do that, but what we can do is bring in as many contractors as possible and try to coordinate with you that process, but the city itself can't do that.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
And we'll vet them, right? We'll try to find ones that have done good work throughout the communities.
In my experience, there's a history. You can go and find out who are the low bidders for all these projects in the last couple of years. I would definitely solicit them and make sure they bid this thing.
We will. Tom, how can we help?
Hi, guys. Just a little bit of history. I think, I'm not 100%, but I think the last assessment job that they did on Broadview Road, I want to say it was 500 homes and about $15,000 a house as far as the assessment board that they came up with. That's just a vague memory of what it was. As a couple of years before I came on council. As far as the street repairs, Matt, you don't have a street program this year. My original understanding when I was on council is that eventually when they did the sewers on the streets that required sewers, the street repair was going to be assessed as part of the project. Now, originally the 2.4 million that we got, that Rick and I and Stu got, that 2.4 million was basically going to take care of the street issue. That would cover all the streets. But the streets, as far as I know, especially since we don't have a street program this year, we're going to be part of the assessment for the sewers.
Okay, first of all, you're right, there is no street program this year. Second of all, when you were on council, it was made very clear to us that the $2.4 million grant is not for the streets, it's to lower the cost of the assessment to every homeowner.
Right, but the part of the assessment was going to be the streets. In effect, the $2.4 million would have taken care of the street aspect of it. That's about what it would cost to do the streets, was the 2.4 million.
We don't have those numbers on how much those streets are going to cost.
Now, the other thing is that, and I guess one of my questions is, why did we get rid of OHM? We're changing horses in the middle of the stream. We're getting rid of our engineering firm in the middle of this huge project.
OHM is the engineering firm that nearly lost each person in this room that grant money.
How did they do that?
If I could finish.
Please.
There were deadlines that needed to be met in order to submit the paperwork to achieve this grant. You miss deadlines, you could lose the grant. Thank God, Stuart Levis and our law director caught that we weren't, as a city, OHM, our engineers, weren't doing what they needed to do.
Okay.
There's been other things involved with other reasons why we got rid of OHM as well, not related to this project. We decided as a city council, unanimously, all 7, even with the support of Mayor Dell'Aquila, that it would be who of the city and in the best interest of everybody to move on.
Okay, that's fine.
And
I just wanted to make sure that it was for job-related reasons, not political-related reasons.
Tom,
because it's just changing horses in the middle of stream is just, with this project, just makes me very nervous.
Okay, well, I'm going to reiterate that every elected official across the board, regardless of what side of the aisle they're on, supported getting rid of OHM.
Okay.
Including Mayor Dell'Aquila.
All right. Do you have any idea what the percentage is going to be as far as the monies that are going to be added to the property tax, what they're going to charge as a percentage for that? Do we have any estimate, any idea? Is it 2%, 3%? Past history, do we know? I mean, at least.
We're gonna have to get you that information.
Okay.
I mean,
I thought, there was an
you
estimate
mean
based on
you're talking
past
about the
history.
cost to borrow the money?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is.
To spread it
No.
out over 20 years, what are they going to charge you as a percentage to carry it?
We'll have to go back to the finance department. I mean, we'll get you these answers. We don't,
All right.
in this meeting, have all the answers. We're laying out the framework for the project, but we'll be glad to get that.
All right, well, that's, a big addition to the thing. When I was talking to the old engineering firm, OHM, at one point back during the election, they were estimating that this job was going to be 15 to 18,000 a house. That was a very thumbnail estimate at that time. They didn't want that to get out there because they didn't feel that they had enough facts yet. But I mean, it's creeped up to 20 to 22,000 now. So that's.
Thanks for letting that out. And it was
You're
a very
welcome.
premature estimate. And
It was premature. That's why I didn't bring it up. But I mean, it just seems to have creeped up 4,000 or 5,000 a house now. So.
Well,
it just.
Okay.
Because. All right.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, sir.
I guess I'm not understanding what's this $10 million figure that we're gonna pay? And I don't understand how you can get a figure if you don't have bids yet.
So Bob kind of explained it, and so did Stuart, but let's let Bob do it again.
Okay. During the assessment process, we have to estimate all of the costs for the project. That's not only the construction cost, but it's the cost to acquire all of the easements and all of the other costs, the design, the firm doing the accounting, all of those costs. Yeah, all of that is added together to come up with the total cost. Now that cost is fluid and our estimates have contingency in them at this stage of the game. Once it's bid out, well, that's how you get the preliminary assessments. They're based on the estimating costs. Once the project is completed, then the final assessment rolls are calculated based on actual real live costs for the entire project. And then that is what the assessments are eventually actually based on.
So you guys that drew up the plans, you're the ones that come up with the $10 million figure.
I came up with the figure of what the actual infrastructure is going to cost.
Right.
I did not come up with the figure for the financing and for the other portions of the cost.
All right.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but the engineering firm we hired put all of that together. The overall cost of the whole project, the engineering firm put that together. $10 million, OHM. Yeah, the engineering firm. Yes, sir.
Yes, I've been living in Seven Hills for 30 years on Twilight Drive. Now, they put the sewers on Starlight in the 70s. Why didn't they continue on?
Stuart already kind of answered that, but it's my understanding.
On your second slide, because it shows right where the slope of the land.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Tom.
Right there.
So
You see that line on the left?
here is Twilight.
There's a slope there.
And I have my glasses on.
The left of that side of the slope.
Yeah, you can see how it just basically stops in the middle of a road. And Stuart, I think, explained it was based upon the terrain and also the flow of where where they thought the water should flow based upon some EPA mandated rule of where water flows, apparently.
Okay.
Right. So it's one of those things. Somebody sitting in some office said, well, I think all the water flows this way, so let's do it that way, right?
Okay, that's the past. But I want to try to make this simple. Now, what are they going to do? They're going to, first of all, put the sewers in, right? And that's going
Right. So phase one,
right.
the sewers are put in, and then phase two, you tie into the sewers.
Now, wait, let's go back to phase one.
Mhm.
That's going to be $20,000.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, that's not an official number, but let's say it's going to be 20.
okay, around that. Right.
Let's hope it's lower. I hope it's
I
lower.
hope so. Now, phase two. Now, all we have to do is get somebody to connect to the house, right?
Correct.
And we have to pay for that.
Correct. And that's a private contract between you and a contractor.
Okay, now, another thing about this easement thing, what do we have to do for that? Sign up something?
You have to sign a piece of paper from the city. Not all easements have to be, not everybody has to sign, but it basically just allows the city to come on part of your property, like a foot onto your property from the road to begin construction.
Now, when do I sign that piece of paper?
If you will be contacted by the law director, if you haven't already, to get your easement signed. If you don't need to get it signed, no one's ever going to reach out to you.
Okay.
We're going to reach out to you and make sure this happens.
Because you know what, with all this, I want to make it very simple.
Exactly. That's why we're doing this.
You know.
So if you got a question about that, email me and I'll find out from the law director. But again, get your easement signed. If we don't get the easement signed, we have a potential risk of losing that grant money. Yeah. So this is a very important thing for everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I just want to know why our mayor isn't here. He's never any place. Isn't he involved in all this? Doesn't he know anything?
I cannot answer that question.
Well,
this is
I
an
think
open public
that's-
meeting. Anyone is welcome.
Well, I just wonder why his face is never around. If we call the mayor, is he not knowledgeable about anything? Is he on top of this? Does he part of this? Or is he just a mayor?
I'll answer
nothing
for
else.
myself. I personally, the day I got elected and before I even got elected, I knew about this meeting. I was going to have this meeting. And I had been planning this meeting for the last 4 or 5 months. And I plan on having more meetings. So this is what you're going to get from me. I can't understand. I can't give you an answer on what the mayor is
I'm sure we
doing.
would like to see our mayor now and then to see that he has some kind of influence or something, you know. And about these easements, so say I have to have somebody come on my property, are they going to fix my yard after? You know, or is it just going to be a mess?
They have to, right?
Okay.
This is all part of the construction process. Is they're going to.
And my question is this: why do you take the hardest part and do it last? You're saying that this is the worst part with the 350
Well, if you
houses.
take your septic tank out first, you won't have anywhere to push the
No,
stuff.
but why weren't we first to do this? Because it's the worst.
What do you mean? Who's
did,
first?
You did Cherry Lane, you did this, you did that, and you're saying the way our development is, the terrain and all that is bad.
You're last to do this.
Yeah, why were we last? When we should have actually been maybe second or third. And, you know, I just don't understand why we're last.
I have no idea
And we
why
paid
the
the
city
most.
decided to do you guys last.
Yeah, and all the older people live in our area, all the ones.
I'll give you an
that can't
idea.
afford this.
I live on Olive Drive and I've been there 20 years and this happened before I moved in. So I have no idea why they did certain projects at certain times.
And are we paying for the watershed? Do we have to pay for the watershed? Is that part of the 22,000?
I'm her old man. I have something to say.
Why?
If it wasn't for the pump station that you got to put in and pump that shit up the street, we wouldn't be paying no $20,000.
I don't know how to answer that question.
Well, who's paying for the watershed?
No, really, when you think about it.
For the watershed.
All right? That's why you guys stopped on Mother Street, because you didn't know what to do with the road going down. So you stopped then a couple of years ago, whatever it was. Why don't you think about that problem? We moved in 75 and we heard that this was going to be done in the next few years. Okay?
63.
Which it's 2016 already. And now you're gonna, some of these people, they're retired, they live on Social Security, that live in the city. So, you know, a lot of elderlies around here, they can't afford that kind of money. What if they just say, piss on you, EPA, we're gonna use our septic tank. We get it cleaned every year and we put Riddick's in it. There ain't nothing wrong with it. It's working fine. Now all of a sudden you gotta make us do this project for that kind of money.
I cannot answer the
I know
question
you
why
can't answer
former,
it.
but here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say there's a glimmer of hope here because I believe that we have a people in council now who don't want to see these same mistakes happen, right? We are making sure that we are open and making decisions that will affect our residents, that will be good for them over the next 20, 30, 40 years. So all we can do is hope that we're doing a good job. And, you know, you'll be the judge, right? In 10 years or 20 years or 2 years. You'll say we did a good job or we didn't do a good job.
We won't know nothing about
We
it.
won't be here. We won't enjoy
Right.
it. And we won't enjoy the new roads.
It's the younger people, like the kid with the gray hat that just moved in.
Right.
Around the corner from, those are the ones that are gonna have to suffer more, I think, in the long run.
We're going to try our best to make sure that we make good decisions for you. Okay, we're going to take this as our last question. And then before you ask your question, I know everybody's going to want to come up here and bombard Bob and his friend to look at your plans. they can't be here till midnight. So if you could be conscious of their time and only take a couple minutes and look at your plans. If you have specific questions after, as soon as the plans are done and posted online, you'll be able to view them online, download them, print them out at home, and be able to answer specific questions. So just be conscious of Bob's time. Thank you. Go ahead.
A couple points. It would have been nice at this meeting. I came from Independence, moved to Seven Hills about 5 years ago. Been to a lot of council meetings. It would have been nice to have everybody who needed to be represented for the city here at this meeting. Finance director, law director. It would also have been nice, you introduced that the new engineering firm who's handling this project would have come up, so we could have put a face to those people.
First of all, every city official was invited to this meeting. Everybody was made aware of it. We did not ask the new engineers to come up because technically they don't begin until May 1st and they're not part of the project yet. Just can't do that yet.
Okay. Secondly, I live on Twilight. I would like to know, as far as the construction goes, I know the road's being, reconstructed. How far are you going to be going onto each property line? I have a huge tree that is pretty much the landmark of Twilight. So when you start digging, I have a feeling that tree is going to die. And I want to know who's going to pay for the cost of that tree coming down.
The first thing we want to do is look at your property and see where that tree is that you're referencing.
Okay.
And then we can go from there and say, what is the likelihood that that tree may or may not live? Okay. There are some trees that, based on the construction, based on where it's at, we have designated them in the right of way, not on your private property, unless there's a specific reason, in the right of way only for trees to be removed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, last one, sir. I don't know if he's been talking the whole time. Did he get them for you? I want to wrap up here and I want to say thank you. Oh, you want to do it? Okay, good.
Okay. The question was asked, what 5 properties are likely to have a grinder pump? The addresses are 2190 Hillside Road. The next one is 7171 Seven Hills Boulevard. The next one is 7137 Seven Hills Boulevard. The fourth is 7095 Seven Hills Boulevard. And the last one, I was not able to get the address because of our printout, cut it off, but it is located on Shady Lane at the cul-de-sac where the existing sanitary sewer easement is, and the property owner, the way his topography or your topography goes, that one property will require or may require. Now, I want to say this. This is based on these properties having a standard basement. Now, I don't know. Some of these may be slab on grade homes. Your plumbing may be hung plumbing. Those we don't know. But these are the ones based on a standard basement that we're making an assumption may need to have a grinder pump.
Thank you, everybody. Again, my name is Jim Kukrow. I'm your councilman in Ward 3. This is step 1, guys, just making you guys informed. Please take a card. Contact me if you have any questions, and have a good evening. Thank you for coming. Yeah, make sure you go to my website, get on my email list, and I'll get you guys all the information.
Are you still alive? Well, I was going to bitch too, but I thought you heard it all already. How much more is the law?
Oh, no, he doesn't. He makes a salary. He's elected. He makes a salary.
And he's not getting no commission off the $10 million project. I don't know. He was very cocky at the last meeting. That's what I told him. He was very cocky.
What street are you on?
Twilight.
I couldn't make that meeting.